Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jim Master Show live entertainment lifestyle talk show series. How's everybody doing today? Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for joining us from all around the world. We always love getting together with you around the same time as we come at you live with our entertainment lifestyle talk show series, where we are truly bringing back the lost art of conversation. Well over 600 plus shows we have done of this series, day in and day out live, bringing the world together with some positivity, entertainment, poignant moments, lots of surprises, sometimes some crazy moments that happen live too, lots of light, love, levity, and our famous JMS Levity. Hope everybody's doing well today. Busy day for me. I was on the air with several radio shows, and we had a television shoot this morning. Always a busy time here, but always wonderful when we turn the lights on and we connect with all of you. I'm your host, Jim Masters. I do this work professionally in television and radio, have for years. We launched this show as a way to bring people together and have a good time with our conversations. We don't call them interviews, we call them conversations, sort of an old school style with a modern twist and a modern vibe of today. Got a very special guest joining us direct from Los Angeles, California. Now, maybe you've seen his story on CBS News. Maybe you saw it on Inside Edition with Deborah Norville. A lot of different venues have covered this extraordinary story of survival, of recovery, of hope, and so much more. We're talking about award-winning writer and publicist Jeff Sweat and his battle with COVID-19. Now, not only himself, but his entire family contracted COVID-19, but he had it the roughest. And it was really an extraordinary situation because he was the picture of health, physically active, on the California coast, and always active and ate right and did his thing. Beautiful family, great career, works hard. And then boom, gets a little bit of a sniffle and then maybe a little bit of a back of the throat soreness and some things of that nature. And then the ball starts rolling in the wrong direction for him. And it really almost not only knocks him out, but takes him out. And it's an extraordinary story. He is here live to detail it for us. We've got some amazing and inspiring video that he has personally sent to the Jim Master Show Live, photos of the entire process, and his amazing story. Again, it's going to inspire you. If you think that you're having a bad day today and you think life can really be crazy, this story will not only empower you, but it'll lift you up to realize that, yeah, anything can happen in our lives, but life and every moment is precious and important, and to savor it now, not tomorrow. We talk about it a lot here on the Jim Master Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. Savor it now. And as a matter of fact, he credits his friend, the beloved opera singer, and we'll talk about her in a second, for really helping him recover, and music being so healing, and opera specifically helping him to deal with getting his voice back, because he literally lost his voice completely. Not only almost lost his life, but his voice. He was supposed to be, in an induced coma for a short period of time and ended up in a coma for almost a month. And then, trying to bounce out of that, you don't just flip a switch. It's just really an extraordinary situation. Again, the picture of health, and then this happened. COVID really came to really rise and show its ugly head in his family. This is his phenomenal wife, Sunny, and this is where they're actually saying goodbye. He actually had to say and prepare a goodbye. One of the hardest things for him to do, or anybody to do in their life, and for the recipient, the family, the wife, the children, parents, friends, to realize this. And again, not everybody would just eagerly come right out and share stories like this. Some people would just keep it under wraps or pull the shades down and what have you. But he is somebody who likes to inspire people, and he wants to tell his story, and he's been doing it nationally and internationally. And we're so happy and honored to have him here exclusively to tell his story. It's going to be very inspiring, very empowering. Again, we've got some extraordinary video and so much more that we're going to share with you, and pictures, and he's going to be here to tell his story. We welcome everybody who is watching live. You can comment live. Many of you, we see a ton of comments already built up. That's the Gym Master Show Lovity Squad, as they're called. Yes, our Lovity Squad. That's those who love and watch our show all the time. They call themselves the Gym Master Show Lovities, and we love that. And they call me Mr. Levity. They call this Levity Hall. And that's because they said the show has a lot of light, love, and levity. And we think that's really cool. And you guys are very active in commenting. If you'd like to comment during the live show, be sure and subscribe to the channel you're watching right now, which is our YouTube channel, where we house all of these episodes of our amazing series day in and day out. And of course, that is Gym Masters TV. That's the YouTube channel. So again, if you'd like to comment live, that's a gift exclusively for the subscribers of our YouTube channel. You get to comment with each other, and we get to see your comments live as well. I know you got a lot of questions. Feel free to post questions. Feel free to comment. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know how your day is doing in comments. And if you don't want to comment in the chat live, you don't have to worry about that. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would love that anyway, because it takes the village, lets us know you're enjoying our series. And also, you can give this episode and any of the episodes you like and enjoy of the Gym Master Show Live series a hearty thumbs up. There's a little icon there that looks like a thumb. Click on that, and that lets us know you're enjoying the show, and it really helps us as well. And leave a comment on our YouTube channel as well. There's that subscribe button you see there on the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that button. There's no cost for that. That's right. There's no cost. You click it. You just let us know that you're enjoying what we're doing here on the Gym Master Show Live. So now that we've taken care of all of that, why don't we take a moment to welcome our very, very special guest, who is coming to us live and direct from Los Angeles, California. Jeff Sweat is here. It's an honor and a pleasure to have him here. Jeff, welcome to the Gym Master Show Live, my friend.
Hey, everyone. Good to be here. Good to see you all, Levity Squad. I'm loving the comments already. I'm watching them.
Isn't it cool? They're already pouring in. Yeah, this is what we do on the show.
There are a lot of hearts there. I think you're well named.
Yeah. Thank you, Austin Field, for your comment as well, a regular viewer, and everybody that's commenting. Thanks. We really appreciate that. Jeff, this, like I mentioned earlier, is not something that everybody would just reveal or share with the world. Tell us about why you feel compelled to want to share this story to inspire and to empower others along the way.
Sure. Well, it started when I didn't think I was going to be all that sick. I just knew that I was going to the hospital to get it checked out. Didn't think there's going to be much more than that. And I have people in my life that I think were not convinced that this was a particularly serious thing. And I'm sure we all do. And what I also knew is that no one really knew what it was like to go through this. If you look, there's very few books or articles by people who've actually survived it. So we're sort of just kind of imagining things. And because I'm a writer, I wanted to tell that. So I started posting just on Facebook while I was going in the hospital. And then when I had to be intubated, my wife took over at my request. And in fact, it was one of the very last things I asked her when I said goodbye, was just to keep people posted. And she wrote every day, and it turned into this amazing experience. It was public, so we shared it. Everyone started sharing it with their friends. We started having friends of friends come in, and by the end, we had thousands of people who were following along. And some of these folks weren't even on Facebook. They were using someone else's account to come in and check on us, which was just touching. And I think part of the story is not just that we had COVID, but that we were able to really be part of such an amazing community. And I think for us, it was most of our friends didn't know anyone personally who had been through COVID. So they had kind of been worried about it all this time, and we ended up kind of becoming the faces of COVID, for better or for worse. And it gave, I think, people maybe a reason for why we've all been so careful this whole time. But I also think it was kind of catharsis for people who have lost family in this way or similar ways. So it just became a really powerful way to connect. And I think that's ultimately why we've decided to continue to tell that story, because I just think it's a perspective that has been missing from our world.
What's amazing too is you were the picture of health. You were healthy, you were active, wonderful family, great career, life's going well, nothing really derailing anything. You're doing your thing. And then all of a sudden, I guess you sort of feel a little out of sorts, right? Maybe a sniffle or a little sore throat, which, with allergies, any of us can get any of that, change of season and all. So it's not that you would run or jump necessarily to the doctor immediately when you have those kinds of things. Take us through the process where initially you were getting just some basic symptoms, nothing that would necessarily cause anybody to jump to the doctor. But then things started to take a different turn where it didn't seem as normal as just allergies or weather change, things of that nature.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it was, is that it didn't start out as something that you ought to be worried about. So this was at the tail end of the surge last year here in LA. And we were being really pretty careful. We weren't even really hanging out with friends, anything like that. And we were all kind of stir crazy. And so my son asked if we could go to the record store. It's one of the things we do together. We pick out vinyl. And so we went to the local record store with masks on, although he didn't have a particularly well-fitting one. And I think that's kind of ultimately what happened. He got sick first. He complained about loss of taste. And then I got, like I said, the sniffles. And it really didn't seem like anything that, again, that I would really worry about. And because we had been so careful, I honestly didn't think it was COVID. I actually thought that I had a cold, because that could spread, especially flipping through records. And so that was kind of my assumption. And I went mountain biking. The first day I showed any real symptoms, and it wasn't a problem. And I lasted another couple of days, really not feeling like it's much more than a cold. And then so Sunday was the day when I started getting sniffles. Tuesday of that week, I had a really crazy fever that night, and it lasted for 3 nights.
Now,
And
was anybody else in the family also feeling ill at the same time, or was it mainly you that it was taking over?
my son was feeling it initially, but nothing like what I was feeling.
Yeah.
As I started to get sick, my wife and oldest son started showing symptoms too. But like I said, I was the one running a fever and was really kind of feeling the worst. And
Did you suspect COVID or just figured maybe the flu or not
I
feeling
didn't.
well?
I'll be honest, I didn't want it to be COVID.
Yeah.
And I think it's something we get in denial.
Sure.
I had spent so long sort of being worried about it that it was almost a reaction on my part to just not have to worry about something for a change.
Right.
And so I tried to put off getting a test frankly for a few days because of that. And finally did get tested. But things had really started to worsen. By Friday of that week, I was, basically calling in sick for work, although I own my own company. So I'm a nice boss. But so I was feeling run down. And then by Saturday and Sunday, I couldn't breathe. And the way I think of it is, those of us who grew up maybe in our era, I feel like every movie that was set in the West had a scene where you're going towards a waterfall, and there's this sort of thing where like you're floating along, and you see rapids, whatever, but nothing crazy, nothing you have to worry about, and you're just kind of going along, and things pick up again, nothing to worry about, and then you turn a corner, and there's this waterfall in front of you, and the banks are too steep, and the water's too fast, and you cannot paddle out. And for me, COVID is a waterfall. By the time you realize that you have to do something about it, it's too late. And at least it was for me.
Yeah.
And that's actually true. And this is the part that people don't realize, is that for people who are healthy when this happens, there's a condition they call silent hypoxia, which means that you are losing oxygen over time at levels that would probably make you pass out if it happened all at once. But because
Yeah.
it's gradual and because you're in good health, it happens slowly. And organ damage happens during that time. And that's what was going on with me. My lungs were being damaged kind of as this was all happening. Other people lose kidneys and have heart problems and things like that. And so I called my doctor on Sunday morning, and I was very, I would say, very understated. I said, so I tested positive for COVID, and it seems like it's progressing. Do you have anything you can prescribe for me? And she just listened to me. She called me back in 10 minutes and listened to me talk. And she said, okay, you're going to the hospital. And she said, they will probably admit you to the ICU. And we drove over there. Because my wife wasn't allowed to visit. She literally had to drop me off. You walk into a tent, it's like something out of MASH. And I sat down and they tested my oxygen and it was at 65%. So if you guys know this, normally if you drop below 90, that's when organ damage starts to happen. So I was at 65%. And the nurse said, I can't believe you're walking or talking. And I went into the ICU. Tried to go it.
There's the breathing test there, huh?
Yeah, and this is after when I was kind of getting it back, but but I was
kind of what it's like.
Yeah, I was trying to get my, manage it on my own, and I actually thought I was doing okay. And then they came in and said, "Hey, we're afraid you're just getting so worn out. We're afraid you're not going to be able to. Basically, your body's going to forget how to breathe." And we need to talk about intubation. Which was,
when you heard that, so knowing what you've seen, you're in the media like me, so we've seen a lot of different things and heard a lot of different things that maybe not everybody sees. Although today everything is out there, you can turn on the TV or go online to see everything. But just knowing what you knew about that, that must have been a real, pun intended, take your breath away moment, because you were like,
Yeah. I will say this. I wish I had known more, or maybe I don't, and I'll tell you why. I think, like a lot of people, what I knew about intubation, I learned basically from watching ER and hospital shows. And I knew that it was not fun. I knew that it was only done in extreme cases. And I knew I wouldn't be able to talk. That's kind of what I knew. When I asked them what it meant, they said, "Oh, you'll be heavily sedated." And for me, that means, like a Vicodin after knee surgery. That's what to me that felt like. And what they meant was, we will be putting you in a medical coma. And so that's a case where I think doctors probably start getting that shorthand for what the treatments are, because they live in that world and they forget that patients don't know everything they know.
Right.
And so that's the crucial thing, is when I said goodbye, I thought I was saying goodbye for like a day or 2 days, and knowing I wouldn't be able to talk when I woke up. I didn't know that I would just not be coming back. Exactly. And the funny thing is our kids knew more about it than we did, which was kind of horrifying. And the reason why they knew about it is because they had a doctor come to their school and talk to them about what that meant. And the stat that's really important, which they certainly grabbed hold of, is the fact that when you are intubated, you have a 50-50 chance of survival. It is a coin toss whether you come out of it alive. So I knew I was saying goodbye, but they thought they had lost me, and they didn't think I was coming back. And so, on the one hand, I'm glad I'm glad that I maybe didn't know that going
Mhm.
in,
Mhm.
because maybe it would have changed my attitude toward it. But I also, in general, I wanted to know. So,
Sure.
but but it still was emotional. And I
Oh,
remember thinking
absolutely.
thinking that, like, the one thing I was really concerned about is losing my voice. And even though I'm a writer, the voice is for me still my main tool. I'm on calls all day. I sing, I do all these things, and I thought, if things go south, I'm not going to be able to say goodbye. I'm going to be just with this tube, and that was heartbreaking for me. So I think when I did have that call, my main goal was to um, make sure that I had the chance to tell my family what they meant to me, because I didn't know when the next chance would come, or if it would at all.
One of the hardest things you could ever do is saying goodbye. Makes me think of those phone calls that people made from the World Trade Center
Hmm.
as it was collapsing, or the planes had just hit, or everything on fire, and they're calling their family and they're saying goodbye. They're saying, I love you. I've always loved you. Think of me. Take care of the kids, whatever it may be.
Hmm.
And those messages on those cell phones saved forever. But just receiving the call and making the call, you could never know what that's like unless you've done it. And you have, and your wife and the kids absolutely experiencing it as well. You have actually been very kind to share us with us here on the Jim Masters Show. Some bits and pieces of the actual moment where that goodbye video call happened. Did you, before we show some of it, and a little bit of a tearjerker, folks, so get your Kleenex out. We always have fun on the show, but we have poignant, deep moments too. This is really something special here that he's graciously sharing with us, and we are honored by it. Um, there's your family right there, your wife and children. Tell us a little bit about them before we show
Sure.
this to the audience.
So I have three kids. The oldest just entered college this year at UC Santa Cruz.
Fantastic.
Um, and so I have a 19-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 14-year-old. And it's Jackson, Mikey, as we call him. Everyone else calls him Mike, but he'll always be Mikey for us.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
like I'm Jimmy at home, but yet you want to be Jim, right?
yeah,
You'll always be Jimmy
exactly.
at home.
And Charlie, who's our youngest. And So this was, and I'm not sure exactly where to start, but this is Sonny basically telling them what's happening, because they thought that they would be intubating me at the end of the day, and my condition was deteriorating so badly they basically moved it up by about 4 hours. And so we weren't even sure if we'd be able to talk to them, which would have been, of course, devastating.
Now, the reason why, because is it because that the surgery to do it is that risky? So there is that 50-50 window, like you're saying, where you can sail through it and things will be okay, or it could all go south. So
Hmm.
get prepared, get the family prepared, and you know,
Yeah, it's a combination of things. So surgery is not risky. It's literally putting a tube down your throat, and that's, like, I guess, the good news. But it's more that, typically by the time you have to be intubated,
you've already.
it's such a serious situation that it's essentially meant to take over for your lungs, because your lungs aren't able to do the job anymore. And so
Mhm.
then it becomes a little bit of a coin toss from there. And then I think the other part is that the longer you are intubated, the lower your chances of survival, which doesn't seem to make sense at first, but it really comes down to the fact that your body is not meant to be comatose for that
Right,
period of time. Like,
right.
things literally start to break down.
Yeah.
By the time I woke up, I had lost 50 pounds.
Mm.
And sadly, most of it was muscle. So this is not like,
Right.
I
There's
was
no
joking.
wind. There's no windfall at all anywhere on
No,
this.
I
Yeah.
mean, I got a little bit, I lost a little bit of weight where I wanted it, but most of it was stuff that I actually didn't want to. But by losing muscle, it means you're actually losing your diaphragm muscle, which helps you breathe, what is deteriorating. So in some ways, it becomes this sort of negative spiral, and so that's so typically they start looking to try to wake you up at a certain point. But what happens is, because you have this tube down your throat, you panic.
Sure.
Like, you wake up and you feel like someone's choking you.
You actually feel it. I saw that with an uncle, and the look of horror on his face, and he wanted us around him to take it out. He was begging us to just take it out. And we're like, if there's any way we could, we'd rip it out, but we can't, because there's a reason why it's there, and it has to be very gingerly removed and all of this. But the look of, I can only imagine. I mean, because I've always said nothing in my eyes or my throat.
Well, it's funny. I in the sort of final days in the hospital, I had a respiratory tech come in, and she was talking to me, and she said, "I remember you from the ICU." And of course, I didn't remember her because I was unconscious most of the time.
Sure.
But what they do is they try to like play with your sedation levels and bring you out. And if you tolerate it, they'll use less and less sedation. But with me, I said, "Well, what do you remember?" And she just kind of laughed, and she said, "Oh, you were a wild one." And I said, "Well, like, how so?" And she's like, the second like the sedation started to wear off, you were like jumping off the table, like, just like, "I'm out of here." And she said the other thing that she said, I could tell you were trying to talk like through the tube, around the tube, but it's like literally taped to your lips, like you can't.
Yes.
And so at a certain point, when that happens enough, they start restraining you. So then you're waking up, and you're actually,
it's like a torture.
You're handcuffed to a bed, essentially, with your face and neck held down, all of this stuff, and it's terrifying. And I'm seeing some folks talking about their ICU experience.
Talking about it. Yeah, I mean, I've been told by my primary care physician, etc., Jim, you've got one hell of a gag reflex. when he just wants to do a throat culture, which is just going a little bit in, maybe towards the back of the throat, and I'm like, shooting the thing out at him. So I could only imagine, the sensitivity that you don't know until you have situations like this, the sensitivity within your throat and everything, and have to deal with it. But thank God you sailed through, and I'm sure it makes you, far more resilient, and, some of the minor idiosyncrasies of life now don't seem as big as they once did. A flat tire is a flat tire. We'll fix it. It's like, the plumbing leaks a little. We'll fix that. But we do have here again this goodbye video, which again is very, very touching and very, very moving. And folks, here it is with Jeff and his wife Sunny and the kids, and then we'll come back and we'll chat more with a very special guest. It starts a little
slow, but hang on there. When I come on, conversation.
Absolutely. Here we go, folks. Here it is.
So he had a better night, but he's exhausted, like exhausted. And I talked to the doctor this morning, and he wants to give Dad's lungs a break so he can rest better. And so they're going to put a tube down his throat with a ventilator that's going to help him breathe, which will let him relax, because right now he's kind of, it's like running a marathon just to breathe. So this way, if the machine can do it for him, then he can hopefully heal quicker.
What does that mean?
So the reason why he wants to call right now is because they're about to do it. But once he has a tube in his throat, he won't be able to talk. And they're also going to keep him sedated because it's uncomfortable to have the tube in your throat. So he won't be able to text.
Will he be fine?
Yeah, a lot of people recover from this. It's just we won't have communication with him, which is going to be hard. But the doctor will call every day, and I can call the nurse at any time. So that's what's happening. So the doctor said, your dad is otherwise healthy. His levels are all good. So he's hopeful and fairly confident that he will recover, but they just don't want his lungs to get damaged anymore.
Okay.
But that was one thing he said. He
entered the waiting room.
Okay. He just wanted to talk to everybody before. Hey, babe, you there? I've got the kids here with me.
Hey. I
Hey,
can see you. Hey guys.
gorgeous.
Hey.
Hi.
Come sit on my lap, Char, or up next to me so he can see you more.
You gotta be in the camera.
Skinny butt.
You guys look good. How are you feeling?
Pretty
I've
good.
been feeling nauseous and I had diarrhea and vomited during class today, but
Uh,
Had a migraine last night.
yeah, that's COVID stuff.
I have a sore throat, but I think that's pretty standard for me at this point.
Yeah,
I feel almost as bad as I did on Thursday.
right. Well, I think you guys should all get appointments to make sure you're being treated the right way for whatever's going on.
Mhm.
But so Bob told you what's happening?
Yeah.
mhm.
Yep.
Cool. So I'm not going to talk much because that makes the alarms go off. It's really hard to talk. But I just wanted you guys to know how much I love you. Okay. And okay, hold on. I'm putting a mask on apparently. 1 second.
They know, and we know. And we love you. When you're strong as an ox. That's 100% true. I talked to Barbara for like 20 minutes just now.
Amazing.
How often does it go off? Every hour?
My point of saying that, guys, not to scare you, because I'm not that worried about it. But I would
Because he won't be able to talk for long.
never want to miss a chance to say it. That's what you mean, okay? I'm gonna be fine. I'm strong, but there's just that enough of a chance. I would hate to miss the chance to talk to you, okay? All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they feel very good about it. And I do too. I'm just
Yeah.
sad because I miss you guys.
The doctor was very positive this morning. And he's at the best hospital. That's why we drove that far distance. And Dr. Lay's mom was here at the very beginning, and she went through the same treatment, and she's fine now. And that's why he's there.
If you guys want to say anything to me, that would be easier than me saying something to you. So if you wouldn't mind, that would be awesome.
I love you so much, Dad, and you got this. I believe in you. You're gonna be okay.
Yep.
Thanks, baby.
And you've got hundreds and hundreds of people rooting for you.
Yep.
I love you so much, Dad. I'm really worried right now.
I can tell. But that's okay. Jack.
Dad, you're the strongest person in the family. You got this.
Thanks, buddy. I do have it. You guys are amazing. So
Do you
Like I
want a
said-
favorite sweater or something with you?
they won't let me touch my stuff. I can't even get out of bed.
Yeah.
So I mean they won't let me out of bed, whether I could or not. So
The
it
doctor
doesn't
said I could bring you anything. Not that that matters too much.
You guys will think of something. If you can bring me something nice to read that you guys wrote, that'd be good.
Mhm.
That'd be awesome. Like I said, guys, I'm crying because I miss you, not because I'm worried, all right?
Mhm.
That's a big difference. I just want you to know that. Because you guys are all so strong. Okay?
Mhm.
And it's okay to worry because it's a crappy disease. But I feel like it's going to be fine. They tell me they think it's going to be fine. Okay?
Mhm.
All right. I love you guys.
Love you too.
Giant computer hug.
I love you guys.
Love you too.
All righty. So I guess you should probably go because I gotta start getting ready for this stupid thing. But I'll talk to you guys. Well, probably next time we talk will be by text. We'll probably have one of these, and I'll just use the chat. So, but I wanted you to hear my voice in case anything happened to it. So, all right, love you.
I love you so much, babe.
Love you too, baby.
So
All right.
I'll tell your parents and Vanessa that you couldn't eat.
I'd still probably like to eat with my parents at least.
Very, very moving, guys. Joining us also is Jeff's wife, Sunny. Sunny, I know that's got to be very tough to relive and to see again, because you could never have imagined in a million years that you and Jeff and the kids would be in such a situation as that. Welcome to the Jim Masters Show. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you here. For you, obviously, you know, being the spouse and the partner, the wife, the mother, the best friend, this must have been extraordinarily difficult for you. Beautiful outcome and, you know, beautiful forward movement here. But during the process, it's as if you're in a soap opera episode and the world becomes just spinning, right?
Yes, yes. Up was down, down was up. Nothing made sense. And we were almost having a different conversation during that video. I had talked to the doctor and he had told me that Jeff would be heavily sedated. And I took that to mean he was going to sleep. And Jeff took that to mean root canal where you're still awake, but you can't feel it. So he's thinking he could read and communicate. And I'm thinking, oh no, I'm not going to be able to talk to you for a few days. Meanwhile, it turned into, I don't know, 21 days before we could actually really talk. And our kids had a very different thoughts going through their head. They had just had a epidemiologist speak in their health class. They went to a mixed grade school, so they were all in the same Zoom class call, I guess, where he basically, I think it was sort of a scared straight scenario where he was trying to get, teenagers to be more careful and accountable about how they are out in public and wearing masks and being careful for their parents and grandparents. And they had basically been told that if someone enters the ICU, there's not a great chance they're leaving. And that if they're intubated, there's a 50-50 chance they won't wake up again. And we didn't find out about this. I didn't find out about this maybe for 3 or 4 weeks. So they were holding that inside. And yeah, it's just heartbreaking.
And for you, Jeff, obviously to even have to say those words to the family, that had to be really difficult, not just emotionally, but obviously from what we saw physically, to be able to speak, because, every little ounce of oxygen at that point is so important and precious. And, obviously setting off alarms and things of that nature, just speaking and trying to say the goodbye in the loving way without scaring the family or putting the family into a panic. And I thought it was really cool that the kids were like, "You're the strongest person in the family. You got this. You got this, Dad. You got this." How reassuring in a moment of dire straits there is that, to have the kids also saying, and your wife, "You got this. This is you're Jeff Sweat. You got this."
That's probably almost exactly the way Sonny said it, or would have said it.
Yes.
The funny thing is what was interesting through all of this is that typically in our family, I think I'm the one who's kind of been the one who's been in more of a support role in these types of situations. And we always joke about the fact that, like, it should have been the other way around, that Sonny probably would have been the one more likely to get sick, and I would have been the one to kind of keep everything running. And I'm, honestly, though, I'm glad in my case that I didn't have to be that person.
You got to miss the best 2 months, right?
But I will say that, like, it was amazing to see the strength from the family. I know for me, and I know for Sonny too, our primary goal was to make everybody else feel okay with what was happening. And although I had certainly some fears and reservations, I think my number one feeling was, I don't want the kids to feel like this is something they need to be terrified of.
Right.
And I also wanted them just to sort of, I didn't know what was going to happen. I wanted to leave on the best possible note, whether that was for a day or a week or, forever. So that was for me, it was just about being a dad. This video goes on a lot longer, and long enough that I wouldn't recommend watching it. But, like, when they left the room, Sonny and I just kind of lost it, because there's sort of what you do to support your kids, and then when you're being real, it changes. And every time we watch this video, I mean, we're a wreck. So you can see we're kind of getting there too. But
Does it, I would imagine too, it's almost as if when you lose something, say, for example, you lose a parent, you're then overly protective of the remaining parent. So in this case, you're here, thank God. But I would imagine for Sonny and the kids, you're probably, even if he sneezes or just leaves the house or just burps from a great Italian dinner or something, you're like, wait, especially right after all of that, right after that, it makes anybody sort of shaky. How have you been able to handle that, Sonny? And is it like that a little bit where you're overprotecting Jeff, but in a loving way because you almost lost him, and now any little thing you want to make sure it's okay?
I think I understood.
Yeah, I think you get that.
I think I understood that.
Our internet's not great, so I apologize for what you may hear from this on point.
Oh, you're not putting one of those Barbara Walters filters on, are you? That make you look all nice and soft.
No.
So what I was saying was,
I know that the minute
you're probably overprotecting, or just as you're being responsive in a loving
the
way.
minute we were allowed to
Actually come and visit him.
are we working?
Are we live? Are you hearing us?
Yeah. We see. Yeah, you're in a frozen. You're a little frozen there, but we do hear you. We just went from television to radio. It sort of froze there in Los Angeles, California. They'll come back. Don't you love the internet? I tell you, it's. But this happens on radio too. It happens on television. It just doesn't happen in this way. I'm so used to television and radio, so many years on TV and radio. You just don't have stuff like that. But they know how to get back in. Let's take a look at the comments. So grateful to hear you're talking to Jeff. That video was absolutely beautiful and devastating. I agree. Thank you for being here as well, Jordan. Beautiful to have you here. You had a question for them too, Toby, right? What kind of support did the kids get, if any? When they come back, they're going to sign back in. They know how to get back in. Their Wi-Fi must have, probably maybe an airplane went over the house or something and took their Wi-Fi out for a second. You saw it when it got a little blurry. That takes it out a little bit. But they are signing back in. They're coming back in right now. Welcome back. Now you can hear us.
Hi guys.
Welcome back. That was just
Sorry.
a brief pregnant pause. So you hear me? Can you hear us? Do you hear us?
I can hear you.
Yes.
Good. And we hear you. So that's great. Don't you love the internet?
We're going to go off camera too.
So we hear you, right?
Let us know when you can hear us, everybody.
So we hear you. Yep.
Yeah.
We see the round circle, but we do hear you.
We just had the teenagers turn off all their devices. Hopefully that should solve some things.
They were all on the devices, and that sucks all the Wi-Fi energy
Well,
out.
they're teenagers.
Yeah.
At 5 o'clock in our neighborhood, everybody comes home and turns on their technology, their internet all at once.
Do you
And
know?
that's what's going on.
We've had that too, where and sometimes we get even little audio weirdness. We get sounds, and it's because everybody in the area is coming home and they're going onto their devices, and that sort of pulls the energy. But they are saying welcome back. Welcome back, Jeff and Sonny. Yes, isn't technology grand? Toby, who's in Encino, California, she asked, what kind of support did the kids get during it, if any? Was there any kind of extra support that the kids got through all of this too?
The support came, unfortunately, afterwards. During, honestly, their friends were their biggest support system.
Yeah.
And then I had a lot of midnight and 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. Cry fests with them.
Yeah, sure.
But they now have some great therapists, and
Yes.
the school staff has been amazing. So we found the support eventually. It just took some doing.
Earlier, I was mentioning that I would imagine, anytime Jeff sniffles or coughs or even burps, you sort of can worry and think, is there anything happening? So there can be like an overprotectiveness, which is totally natural. Did you find that right after that you were really keeping an eye on Jeff, even if he just sneezed? Did you guys hear that question?
Sorry, we lost you now, Jim.
Did you lose us? Do you hear us?
Amazing.
Do you see us?
Now I hear you. Yeah.
Okay, and do you see us too?
Yep. Now I hear you.
Okay, good. And do you see the video?
Yep.
Good, great. So what I was saying was, for Sonny, I would imagine, after this, you're probably extra watching Jeff when he sneezes or coughs or anything, even burps. You sort of jump and run and think, oh, could there be something else happening, right? Watching over and protecting him. I don't think that question is going to get answered tonight. Can you hear that question?
I think that was the question you asked before.
Yes, and you got cut off.
So yeah, and anytime he left the house, I freaked out. And when we were finally able to make appointments for vaccinations, he was still in the hospital. And I would sit there at night and I'd have all of our local pharmacies up in a tab, and I'd go and I'd refresh and refresh and refresh and refresh, looking for the first possible appointment. So I was just determined to get him vaccinated as soon as possible. You went out of town for a weekend and I lost it. I knew he was with his brother and they were just bike riding, and he was bike riding, which is amazing. But just having him gone brought my PTSD skyrocketing. I think we're getting better though.
And that's something that happens, right? I think in this case, the entire family has gone through a post-traumatic situation. You as well, Jeff, being the one experiencing it, but it's something collectively that sort of can hit you later to say, wow, things like that can really happen in life, on the flip of a dime, and it could be really scary. So you're working through all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a syndrome, Post-Icu Syndrome, which is very recognized for people who've been in the ICU and especially in a coma for quite a while. And UCLA does a great job with post-ICU support. But what we found as I was doing research is there's also a companion piece to that, which is post-ICU family. So it's not just the patient who went through all of this stuff. It's the family members who went through it with them. So our lungs didn't have to heal, but our kind of collective trauma and terror is still getting healed.
Absolutely.
I kind of joke that in some ways, I slept through the worst part of it. They had the uncertainty for weeks and weeks. And I think it was amazing. People were super supportive about me when I came out, and I think didn't ever they asked how I was doing, and they didn't always ask about how Sonny and the kids were doing. And I think that's really important, because that was so crucial to, for their mental health. The one thing I think has caused some trauma for me is not so much even the COVID part, but was the fact that I was in this coma. And I think I don't know, people don't talk very much about what that's like, but they give you such powerful sedatives. There's a paralytic, there's all sorts of stuff like that they give you. And that cocktail is really potent. And the term they called it during COVID is the delirium factory. And I had vivid hallucinations throughout that really sort of kind of blended the difference between real life and dreams. And And I actually, I mean, I I actually thought that I had killed someone. And in this, I guess, delusion that I had, or hallucination that I had, um, I had been taken out by life flight to a hospital in Northern California. And I got there and I was doing better. Had a call someone called me at 5 a.m., on my cell phone. And of course that does happen from time to time. And I was ignored it the first time, and I tried to get back to sleep. And by the way, I'm an insomniac, which didn't really go away even in the hospital. So sleep's very important. They called me back again 5 minutes later. And this time I picked up in time and I yelled at them. I said, "What is wrong with you? I said, I'm really sick, and you're making this hard for me." And I put it down and woke up to another call about half an hour later from the police, who said that the person I was talking to on the phone had, because I guess I had been having this angry conversation with them, had gone off the road and died in a car accident. And they wanted to talk to me about involuntary manslaughter, which is in fact a thing. And so I wake up again and I'm in my hospital room, and I'm trying to get back to LA. But like people, I'm trying to communicate to people what I think is happening. And literally the details of the room in front of me had changed. Even like I saw the name of this hospital in Northern California, and I kept on waiting for the police to come. And when I finally talked to Sunny, that was the first time I talked to her that night. She came on and I said, mouthed, "What happened?" And she thought I meant, what happened with the coma, what happened with the tracheostomy. And I was asking, what happened to this person that I killed? And she didn't know that. I couldn't explain that. And I woke up the next day and I realized, and all the signs had switched back to what they were before. It said ICU and it said UCLA and all these kinds of things. And I checked my phone. No one had ever called. It was just all this super vivid hallucination that I actually experienced while awake. And that's like the worst of it. There were some others that were just insane. Like literally watched an entire sitcom in my head that apparently I made up. So, just things like that. But it was.
And can you hear the nurses and the doctors talking around you and people talking around you, but you couldn't respond?
Well, yeah, because I had the tracheostomy. So I had a trach tube. And I'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah, we have video.
I just literally, I was having conversations with people, but I was actually in this. I mean, I was hearing them talk, but I was in a different reality in my mind. The signs looked different. All these things that, and the next day, as these things left my system. They kind of reverted back to what they always were.
And he couldn't retain anything. So some nurses that he'd have regularly would come and talk to him and tell him what was going on, but nothing would stick. So every bit of news was a huge surprise.
Yeah. I mean, and I didn't know how much time had passed for sure.
Oh, jeez.
Sunny.
I asked him when he was finally really lucid if he knew how long he had been asleep, and he didn't know. And I asked if he wanted to know, and he said, yeah. And are you sure you really want to know? And he nodded, and I was like, 19 days. And he kind of looked at me like, no. I'm like, yeah.
It's like a lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was a few days beyond that before he could really communicate. So I think it was 21 days since you were really lucid.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole component to this too, about not just the recovery and survival from the surgery and the experience, but also the healing power of music and how opera sort of came into the fold here. But before we talk about that, we do have some really cool things to show people here that might sort of put some of the dots, together. One is the tracheostomy revision. We actually have a quick little video on that. Did you want to preface that at all, Jeff?
No, except for the one thing that happened was when the trach tube was removed and the scar healed, it healed incorrectly. And normally your skin is separate from your trachea. And so when you swallow, your trachea moves independently.
Right.
Mine actually my skin attached to the trachea tube. So when I swallowed, skin moved with it. And so the reason why I had the surgery, besides getting rid of a really strange looking scar, was the main purpose was to fix that problem. And actually, I've 2 surgeries in, and they still haven't fixed it. But so you'll kind of see there what's going on.
So that's the revision, sort of the revision.
See the way it pulls there, and it even still does it now. It's not as bad. I feel like I've completely stymied my doctor, who's like the top neck surgeon at UCLA. So I'm always like, well, where do I go from here? She's one of the best in the state.
Yeah, exactly. We actually have some other photos that you've been generous to send along our way. So what are we looking at here?
Yeah.
What do we see here, Jeff?
That's a giant hole in my neck. Yeah, that was visible. You could see straight into my trachea.
Yeah,
Don't look too closely.
The little plug had shifted there.
That's amazing. It's amazing these doctors can do these things, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, this is me. This is my my sexy look.
That's this is face sign language, I guess. You were barely lucid here, but I was saying, hey, you're moving your face, and so he'd like make even crazier faces. So it was about as big of a conversation as we could have.
Right. Doing it all through the face, right? Exactly. Yeah. And then this shot too. I mean, thank God for all of this.
That was 50 pounds lighter.
Isn't that amazing?
I look like my grandfather there. It's crazy.
That's what happens.
Well, I was like, when did I become a brunette? And it was because they hadn't washed my hair the entire time.
50 pounds right
it was
there.
just dirty.
It's really incredible. Did they say at all why? And again, here's this was the removal of it. Did they say at all why in particular, the picture of health, doing your thing, and all of a sudden why it hit you so hard? Did they give any reason why you got hit so hard, Jeff?
Well, it's funny. We had a few kind of health issues over the years related to some black mold that we had in our house. And we thought maybe that was it. But my doctor kind of afterwards said, no, that really had nothing to do with it.
Especially since I have the same symptoms you did, and so did our son.
Yeah.
And we got COVID, but it was nothing.
I mean, and
like
Sunny literally has an autoimmune disorder. So theoretically, she's the one who would have gotten sick. And my doctor said, you're actually the healthiest. You were the healthiest you've been in the 10 years I've been seeing you prior to this. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I think this really kind of grabbed people's attention, is because it feels like it shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
One
Exactly.
doctor speculated that there might have been a genetic component to being more susceptible.
Was your immune system low? Yeah. Was your immune system low at the time?
No, like I said, it was like I was mountain biking twice a week. I was taking care of myself. So, it just happens sometimes. And I think what was the case was, at the time there was a new variant that they were calling the UK variant.
Yeah.
And that was affecting people who were younger than in the past. And it was basically what they call a stickier version of the virus. It would actually it took less virus to do the work, which is one of the reasons why we think we got it from a store, but also why it hit me harder. And it's tough to say for sure, but I do think that, like, the lesson here, it was that at the end of the day, it's a roll of the dice. And I feel like a lot of times in this country, we are, we start looking at what happened to them, like we look for pre-existing conditions. And I get asked that question a lot, and I think the reality is it's a deadly disease. It doesn't play by any particular rules. And sometimes things just happen. So it's, like I said, for a lot of our friends, I was maybe the first person that ever met who had gotten a serious case of COVID. And that says, I think, a lot about, our income class and where we live and all those kind of things that really feel like privilege. Because when I talk to like my nurse or to the respiratory tech at the hospital, like their whole family, like one of my respiratory tech had lost his uncle and his dad to it, and it's different demographics got hit much harder. And I think it's important for us to realize that just because we didn't see stuff happening, that it did happen to tons of people around us.
Exactly right. And there's so much that you've learned along the way, but you've come out of it stronger as an individual, as a couple, and as a family. And that's the beautiful story and part of this as well. And when the release day came, when they actually said, "You're going to be okay," I mean, how did they say that? When you were coming out of everything, what were they saying? Like, you're gonna, life will be a little bit different, but you're gonna survive. You're gonna be okay. Take one step in front of the other. What was some of that like? And then, of course, you were released, and we actually have the release video, which is quite beautiful as well.
Well, I'll kind of say my part, and then Sunny can say kind of what she was told and was expecting. So they released me from the hospital into a rehab facility. It was the first thing that happened. And actually today is the 1-year anniversary of the day I left the hospital and went to the rehab facility. But I went in an ambulance. I was in a gurney. I could not walk more than probably 5 steps. Just sitting up was a nightmare. I was completely weak. My hands were so shaky that I couldn't type. And for a writer, that's really, really important. And in fact, I had Sunny bring me an ergonomic keyboard, which I typically use, just so it kind of locked my hands in place. And so writing was something that got me, not just kind of shared this to the world, but it helped me get back to who I am. And then I went to the rehab facility where they worked me on the walking part. Then I will say this was like sort of like the second I have the ability to do something about my situation, I jumped right into it, and I think threw myself into PT the way that they weren't used to seeing. Like they would come twice a day, and I kept on asking for more sessions, which they said, well, no one ever asks for that.
They don't ask for more, right?
No.
He's like, wow, you made it 1 lap down the hall and back, and he asked for another, or he made it up 1 flight of stairs and you asked to go 2 more.
I remember the first day I was going down the hall and I had oxygen on and a walker. Wow. And I want to say I made it, I don't know, maybe like 150 steps. And ahead of me, there was this old guy in his 90s, just kind of cranking along. And in my mind, his name was Earl. And I was like, I had this whole thing where I was like, I am going to catch Earl, like, screw you, Earl. And I don't know, I think that might be where my kind of competitiveness came in. But I think there was this idea of, kind of winning PT.
Yes.
And because I knew that the faster I got better, the sooner I could return home.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually did leave 2 days early. And I think my doctor came to that conclusion I was ready one day when he walked in. And instead of being in my wheelchair, which is what normally would be, I was standing by my window looking outside. And he was like, oh, okay, well, this conversation's a little easier then. He's like, do you think you're ready to go home?
Right, exactly.
We had to
And
convince them to turn the alarm. The bed has an alarm just in case
yes,
if you fall out, but we had to convince them to turn off the alarm.
turn off. And we actually have a wonderful short release video from the day of, which must have really been a very beautiful moment for all of you. Here's that video, everybody, here on the Jim Master Show.
Oh, hi. Oh.
50 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've gotten those.
There you go. Oh my goodness. I'm crying now. Oh my god.
You did it. You beat it.
You guys are awesome. Good to see you.
I got it. There you go. Oh, it's still on.
Okay. Really amazing and a beautiful moment. And then everybody back together. It's really extraordinary. And then the story doesn't end there, even though that could be a fabulous capping to, a movie of the week. It also involves this extraordinary person here. This is the part where I know CBS News and Inside Edition and everybody else, came and told the story about how the healing power of music came into your life. Tell us about this part of this story as well, Jeff.
Yeah. So I think what people don't realize again about COVID and about the ICU is that you lose your ability to breathe. Like you literally forget how to breathe. And I remember constantly people trying to tell me to slow down, to take deep breaths, because you would just get into this like kind of panic mode because your lungs didn't work the way they were supposed to. And, and I remember thinking like, I could no more control. Someone told me to breathe deep and I couldn't have done that. Could no more do that than I could control the path of the moon. Like that's how far outside of my body that it felt. And so my biggest priority was learning how to breathe again. And none of the things that they told me made sense. They would give me tips, and it wasn't until I started doing and sort of living in my body again that things started to come back. And I think there were a couple of things that really paid off. One was actually biking. The second, I could get on, and actually before my doctor gave me the okay.
In fact, your doctor explicitly said, don't get on your bike.
Yes, my doctor said, no biking for you. And I was like, well, okay, obviously I'm going to do that now. But
Absolutely.
The other one, yeah, exactly. There you are. I bought an e-bike. That was Sonny's bribe for me to come back alive.
I kept whispering that to him in our nightly Zoom calls while he was in a coma.
I think it worked. And so that was part of it. I think like if you can kind of take yourself out of like a physical therapy moment and just start doing things you love, that becomes really, really important. So that was one part of it. And the other part was what you're referencing, which was singing. And I will say, and I want to give credit, I don't know that she's watching, but I hope she is. Our good friend of ours, Ronnie Minnis, who's a voice teacher, first reached out to me and offered me free voice lessons so that I could start building up my diaphragm again. And the diaphragm, as if you guys sing, you know this, that's what powers your voice when you sing. But obviously it also is what powers your breathing most of the time. I mean, the lungs aren't the only thing. And so so she started, and then because I had been staying in close contact with the ICU because of the memoir that we're writing, we talked to them a lot. They thought of us when they launched this new program and invited us to a new program, which was taught by the LA Opera. And Nani, the woman that you show, is now a really good friend of ours. We met through that. And I thought it was really powerful, because if anyone knows how to tap into the diaphragm, it is opera singers. And I think this is one of the best things, one of my favorite things that I've seen come out of COVID, because it's something that's so fundamental to us, this sort of breathing, and we don't know how to activate it. And they would do these exercises with us. And like I said, physical therapists tried these things with us, and they didn't have the same impact. For me, this was something that I could truly understand, and I could see the payoff, and it worked.
Yeah, blowing into a plastic tube and trying to keep the ball in the
Mm-hmm.
little healthy range is very different than singing Hallelujah or something.
I would imagine it also gave you a newfound appreciation for opera now too, huh?
Oh my God, those guys are amazing. That shot that you showed, she was singing some crazy note that was sort of like, just staggering that comes out of a human.
Yeah, it breaks windows and glasses, right?
It's super powerful. And so I think that it was, and it was interesting because I looked around and everybody, so it was done over Zoom. It wasn't in person because we still weren't meeting in person. And there were all sorts of people. There were people who were still on oxygen. There were people who looked healthy but could barely talk when they were asking a question. And I thought it was really powerful connection. And it was really touching. And so I hope, like you said, that these guys listen to this at some point. It was so amazing, and I think just really uplifting.
Absolutely. So you've stayed in touch. You guys have stayed in touch. That's a beautiful thing, I tell you.
Yeah.
The power of music is very healing.
Facebook post about this. So
yes, healing is very. Music is very healing in so many different ways, isn't it? The power of music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His best friend's a musician as well. When he's not doing his day job, but one of the things we would do is sing to Jeff when he was asleep. So one night I had a bunch of work to do, so I turned on Zoom for Matt, and he sat there for hours playing his guitar and singing, and he would look at the heart monitor, and he'd look at the pulse oximeter and whatever, and he'd see when the numbers would start crashing, he'd change songs. He's like, oh, no, that's the wrong tempo, that's the wrong mood, and so I think he sang you level to keep your anxiety.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of anxiety even in the coma. It's not like regular sleep, and
I can only imagine.
Anxiety was a really hard task, I think, for the doctors.
I can only imagine what that's like. I mean, many of us, we've had anesthesia for various things, but it's like anesthesia on steroids in such an extraordinary way. I would imagine you're sort of so exhausted and wired and confused, and just so many things, like you say. You could be hallucinating
Exactly. And the other thing I think that's important is
and yet it's all for your benefit. At the time, you don't think it is, but it's actually supposed to help you.
A case where the cure is almost worse than the disease. The other thing I think was really challenging was because I had COVID, everybody was in full PPE, the protective wear. And so they're dressed in these yellow coveralls with face masks with like masks and the screens, and I couldn't even tell. They didn't even seem human. They were like some kind of alien, and I would wake up in these flashes, and they'd be bending over me, and they'd be doing things, and they'd be sticking me with needles, and it was just kind of this horrifying experience. And so it's one of the challenges with COVID, was that the families weren't able to be there. And typically the families are the ones that ground you when you're coming out of a coma, so that okay, I'm in a safe place. If Sonny had been there, that would have been a very different story. But I was with people that sometimes, I don't know, they probably had introduced themselves once, but like you forget all that stuff. So strangers are telling you to do things and not telling you why they're doing them. It's a horrific experience. I do not recommend.
Exactly right. Yeah, something that is just, if you can avoid it at all costs, please do. We have also some evidence of the recovery and the healing power of music. I think he knows what it is. It's a little karaoke and Nina Simone, huh?
Yeah, this is my first time back. By the
Fantastic.
way, Jen, your answer, mountains, definitely.
She asked you the Zen question, huh?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
she asked me first, because she's in the mountains of Allentown, Pennsylvania, and
amazing.
and I'm here in the Northeast, between New York and Boston, on the southern New England coast, and we have the ocean here, and I grew up near the ocean, so the ocean, I'm swimming, surfing, boogie boarding, sailing in it. I say it all the time, always in it and near it, live not far from it, a couple of blocks really, and it's a Zen place for me. But so yeah, the mountains for her in Allentown. So the mountains for you give you that Zen.
Yeah, I would say redwoods are my favorite place to be, but but mountains in general.
Absolutely.
And
Veronica Lee's watching in Australia, and she says, so awesome to hear the healing effects vocal exercises and music have. Absolutely. Veronica Lee watching live in Australia. That's beautiful. So here's a little, so you got a chance to do a little Nina Simone here?
Yeah, this is my first time back, so be kind. But it's you don't have to do your little thing, but it's good.
This is not his American Idol audition. This is his recovery from what we just described. Here we go. Give him a record deal. Give him a record deal right now. Producers, give him a record deal. That was amazing considering.
I haven't listened to that one all the way through. So that's a first for me too.
It's the first time. I know. Hopefully YouTube won't nail it for copyright or something.
No, that's right.
So
I did a bad enough version. I don't think they'll
to say, no, you were great. Look, our lovely audience watching around the world. Amazing. You sound great. From Mona, who's watching in New Orleans, Louisiana. Toby in Encino, California says, what COVID? Right on, Jeff. This is so great. Kathleen in New York City says, nice, with all kinds of emojis. And Wozniak in Jacksonville, Florida. Awesome. Teresa says, amazing. Jocelyn Parks, welcome to the show, Jocelyn Parks. So nice to have you here. So awesome. And Fight Zen First. Jen Barry's loving it as well. Everybody's saying this is really, Sherry Larson says, wow, love the song choice too. She's in Kansas, USA. Couple more comments coming in here as well. Pretty darn good for all you went through. Absolutely. Veronica Lee in Australia. Tons of colorful emojis there as well. Teresa, you must know Teresa. She says show off.
Oh yeah, that's all right, but it's not wrong.
No, I think you nailed it. And Jordan, welcome to the show. Jordan, Toronto. What a perfect song. Absolutely. Fantastic fun. So awesome. Really good stuff. And that's part of this whole thing, is inspiring other people. We all go through things in our life, and sometimes it comes at us, in a New York minute, and we don't realize what's happening until it happens. And then we have to deal with it, and we have to sort of pivot, and we have to come up with different ways to deal with it all. And you've certainly been able to come through. This is the birthday, huh?
Yeah. This is what we called the Rebirth Day.
I like
And
this.
March 20th, which is coming up, was the day I came out of the rehab center. And I think it's going to be something we're going to be celebrating every year. So, you know, this past month, I've been sort of reliving through Facebook some of the stuff that's been coming. And
Yeah.
I would say I just have a lot of gratitude for certainly where I am, but even elements of the experience
Yeah.
have, I think, ultimately made me a better human being.
I was going to say, you know, when you go from this situation where nobody knows what's going to happen, um, to this situation in months time or so, it's just got to be unbelievable in terms of the emotion and the feeling. What are some of the additional things that you've learned about life, about yourself? How have you changed? What are some of those teachable moments? You know, we've been talking on the show a lot, just in general, with some of the guests and the viewers about how this COVID situation has really taught us a lot of things. It's been a time of pause. It's been a time of regrouping, time of great resignation, the time of pulling in the ranks, lifting up kindness and empathy, which is what I'm all about and hope continues. People have been getting in touch with their families, baking bread, gardening, doing some simple things in life, not necessarily always chasing and running and topping and competing, slowing down and breathing a little bit. You have all of that, the both of you and your family, topped with an actual experience of the COVID. What are some things that you come out of it with, Jeff? And then Sonny, after Jeff, same question for you.
Yeah. So, you know, it's interesting. The thing that kind of was awful about this was this came after a year of the pandemic. So we were having the same issues that everybody else was. You know, we were dealing with our kids dealing with depression. We were dealing with depression. And so this kind of came, I think, when we were at our absolute limits. And I think one of the things that we knew would get us through was our connection with each other and our love. We've been through quite a few. This is not our first rodeo, as it were, in terms of, you know, tough times, and we've gone through them together. We have a little rule in our family, which is only one of us gets to be crazy at a time. And the idea is that we know that one of us is going to go through something. So the other one is going to be there for us when that happens. And unfortunately for Sunny, she got left holding the wrong end of the stick for a lot longer than she anticipated. And so I think, like, it just deepened our appreciation for each other, and you know, our love for each other is stronger than ever. And so I think that's one thing I learned. The other one I'll kind of talk about a little bit, but then let Sunny talk about it too, was really the power of community. And I think during the last few years, you know, we've really become so divided as a country. All of us know this. We've seen it in our own families and our own lives, and there's so little that we can agree on. And social media in some ways made that worse, right? It sort of gives you like the things that it reinforces your biases and it separates you from other people. And so it kind of failed us in that regard. But we kind of failed each other too. We stopped being there for each other. And what this taught us is that people, when we needed them most, stepped up. All the people in our world came on board, and they just became, if they just threw in support. And these are truly people that maybe we weren't super close with, that we had sort of lost touch with, but they all kind of came out of the woodwork, and people that we, in many cases, didn't even know. So I'll let Sunny talk about that, because it was just sort of insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's interesting you said something about how this gave a lot of people opportunity to have time and bake bread and get in touch with what they really want to do. We were baking bread before the COVID pandemic hit, and then
stopped.
And then I had to let my starter die because my job tripled. There was no break, no breath, no weekends, no holidays, nothing. It was just nonstop 80-hour work weeks. And the first time I was able to relax was mid-January, the January that we all got sick. And I had nothing left in my stores. And I had gone off of social media altogether. It was just a matter of just getting my work done and staying above water. And then when Jeff got sick, he thought that it would be a good idea to start documenting this. And he thought this might be a good article, or, depending on how things go, a book. And so he was kind of just writing down everything as things happened and posting and kind of journaling. And at the end of our goodbye video, he was saying, well, I'll keep writing. And I said, I don't think you will. No, I will. I'll keep writing. No, I think you'll be asleep. And he said, well, then can you keep writing for me? So I did. He went to sleep, and the best way for me to keep everybody in the know, my family wanted to know what was going on. His family wanted to know what was going on. People who worked for him, people he used to work with, friends, everybody. They were all asking, what's going on? What's going on? So I just decided to write one post a day, sometimes two, and just make it public. And if you want to know what's going on, come to Facebook and read, because that's all I've got time for. And that kind of became my therapy. While he was asleep, I would get through my day, and, midnight would roll around and I'd write until 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. and just sort of hit send and maybe sleep a little and then wake up and do it all over again. And next thing I knew, I was getting all sorts of offers to bring meals over. What if somebody offered to come garden for me? All these little things, and I'm the person to say no always to help, because I can handle things. Apparently, I can't handle things when things get that bad. And eventually, I finally said yes to your sister-in-law wanted to send us food. But it gets complicated because we all have dietary restrictions, and I don't want to be a burden. And then Facebook friends took over, and they were like, no, we'll take care of you. And a meal train started, a fundraiser started to help with medical bills, and, lost wages, whatever. And this community that I had sort of, not the people, but the system, that I had been disenchanted with, that I just didn't feel like was worth my time and energy, because things were getting so divisive, ended up being the thing that saved me, the thing that saved us, because I was so isolated. I was so alone. I couldn't visit the hospital. I couldn't go to work, so I was teaching from home. And I was just alone in my little makeshift studio. And even my children didn't want to talk to me because they're all grieving in their own ways. So it was my lifeline to the world. And my kids' friends, parents, honestly, just took over. And they took care of us, and they made sure we were fed, and they made sure that our kids were being occupied. Their kids didn't have video game curfews anymore, as long as they were playing with our kids. It was beautiful. And then I remember one day we got a package from Australia, and I thought, what's this all about? And it was a care package. from somebody in Australia we had never met before. And there was just a sweet note in there saying, I think your kids deserve a little treat for what they're going through. And so that she sent a care package to our kids. And from then it was just note after note after note, either private or public notes of support from people all over, not just the country, but all over the world. It was just breathtaking, and it gave me a chance to feel supported, and to feel cared for, and to feel like I wasn't having to do this on my own.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add to that, and Sunny can fill in because she really did experience it, but people were really sort of activating their, their belief systems in for us, like whatever that might be, whatever they happen to believe in, they were kind of throwing that in. And so my family's religious, and they were praying for me, and that was great. But we had a convent in India praying for us. An old office mate of mine told her parents, who were Buddhist, and their temple with 10,000 people were praying for us. And you can tell more because I forget.
Oh, there was a rabbi, one of your friends was in a class, and a rabbi dedicated the whole service to you, and they all prayed for you. Mm-hmm. That was a Zoom service. That was interesting.
Yeah, and our atheist friends were sending positive vibes into the universe, and I think, and it's interesting because this was a miracle. We're not religious ourselves, and so we don't maybe see that in the same way that other people do. But I think the part that really resonated with us is that I really think there's something to this idea of us collectively, pointing our energies and our kind of spirituality and those things that drive us towards a common goal. And I can tell you that when I woke up, I still wasn't out of the woods. I was still dealing with this, still my lungs were still filled with fluid, and all sorts of insane things that happened. And knowing that I had at this point literally thousands of people out there rooting for me and sending me messages and taking care of us made all the difference. Mm. And I truly believe that saved my life. So for us, the biggest lesson out of all of this has been that outpouring of love and what that can do for you.
What would you say to somebody right now who's going through something similar, either themselves or they're caring for a loved one or friend who is, or a family member, having been through such a situation and coming out of it together as a family and coming through it in glorious and deep ways? What would your message be for somebody that's watching this live or will watch this later in the archives, who they're just seeing darkness right now? They're not seeing the hope. They're not seeing the light. They're not seeing humor or hope or any of those things. And maybe they don't have that, worldwide sort of swell of support. They just have a few people around, and that's about it. And they're not, it's a tough thing for them. What would the both of you say to somebody like that? You've been through it, and you're still, experiencing it as a family and individually as well. What would be some inspiring words, perhaps, this whole story is incredibly empowering and inspiring on so many different levels. But what would you say to somebody watching who is going through something tough right now, whatever it may be?
I think the most important thing for me was to feel like I was not alone. And when you're in that nightmare, it's so very easy to slip into the I'm alone cave. And it took some very stubborn people to pull me out of it. So I want to say, if somebody's offering to help, say yes. And don't be secretive about what's going on. I've known other people who have been very sick and not wanting to either burden other people with that or share because maybe they're embarrassed. And what I learned is so many people are out there willing to help and wanting to know how they can. A lot of people were feeling helpless, like they couldn't do enough and they wanted to do more. Yeah, so giving people the opportunity to do what they can.
Yeah, honestly, that's what I was going to say is I think don't suffer in silence. I think it's important in this world where we're increasingly cut off from each other to let people know how you're feeling and to let them know kind of what you're going through. And you'll be surprised at what people are capable of. And it's frankly sometimes not the people you would expect.
Oh, definitely not.
I mean,
Definitely not.
you know, people that we, like I said, people that we barely knew were doing these amazing things for you. I mean,
or people that knew him, but I had never met.
I mean, my old boss donated just an insane amount of money to our GoFundMe, and we hadn't really been in touch for many years. And so, but it's just you're opening yourself up. You're vulnerable, and I think people respond to that. And it just you talk about increasing empathy. One of the ways to do that is to just sort of bare your soul, and people respond to that in a positive way.
And if they don't have as big of a network as this guy, I found a lot of hope in support groups because there's only so much that friends and family can say or do when they have never been through anything like this. There were a few people that had been in a coma or had gone through some scary disease stuff, but nobody had been through what we were currently going through. So I found a Facebook group for COVID survivors, and I would sit there for hours asking questions or reading posts. I would get all recommendations for how to prepare the home for when he came home or what questions to ask. So whether it's your nuclear family or your extended family or an external support group, somehow the good thing about being so online is you can find virtual support groups where you don't even need to leave your home for really almost anything you're going through.
Beautifully said. Really beautifully said. You know, it's life does bring us lots of different things, and you probably could never have predicted or scripted this, but there are beautiful things that have, developed out of it. I know you're also working on, and I got a chance to see a preview of some of it, and I can't wait to see the finished product, but you are working on a memoir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
COVID with Love.
Yeah. So but kind of it's based on what both Sunny and I wrote during this. And what I think is interesting is that, like I mentioned at the very beginning, there are very few stories about COVID from this point of view, from people who actually went through it. If you look at kind of most of the books about the pandemic, it's about our experience living in the pandemic, but not actually going through the disease that caused it. And so I think it's really important, if you want to understand what happens, to have that point of view. And so we wrote a ton. I mean, we basically wrote a book length. We had a book length correspondence going with the world, and that's what kind of forms the foundation of this. So we chose that name from COVID with Love because it just seems like one of those things that isn't possible, that you would go through an experience like this and come out with stronger connections to the world, to the people around you. But that's what happened with us. And we really do feel like this was a case of love conquering death.
It really is. It really absolutely is. And love with the music thrown in for good measure, too. Can't wait to when you make your debut performance at Carnegie Hall. I've been master of ceremonies at Carnegie Hall, so I'll MC that concert for you, Jeff.
Oh, awesome! I'll take you up on that.
Well,
I will probably never happen, but I'll happy to do a reading there.
Exactly. This was really fantastic. Just want to show you some of the comments. Everybody is really moved by this, and I knew they would be. And it's been a very moving evening here. And again, and anybody who joined us late, you can see this episode and 600 plus more on our YouTube channel, Gym Masters TV. I would love if you subscribe to it, share it, let everybody know about what we're doing here, this community we created on our Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. You can see this entire episode again. Just kick back and let it sweep over you and soak it all up. It's an extraordinary story, regardless of whether you're going through anything similar or anything in life. When you hear other people's stories and how they, went through it, and suppose, like I said in the introduction, went in the other direction of pulling the shades down. They went towards the fire and came out through it, and now want to help with buckets of water put out other people's fires. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And some comments coming in from the Lovities watching all around the world. Sherry Larson says, thank you, Jeff and Sonny, for sharing your inspiring story. I'm so sorry you went through all of this, but thankful you're on the upswing. Blessings for you and your family. I second that emotion. Sherry in Kansas. Jordan says, wow, love conquering death. Oh my, that says it all. It sure does, Jordan. Good to have you here with us on the Gym Master Show Live. You're now a Lovity. Anybody that's new on the show, you're instant Lovities. And Jeff and Sonny are Lovities as well here on the Gym Master Show Live. Mona in New Orleans says, thanks so much for sharing your story. Very touching. God bless you and your family. Hugs to all of you. Kathleen Walker in New York City. Thank you both for being here and sharing your amazing story. Continued good health and bless you all. That's absolutely beautiful. Terry Ann says, thank you, Jeff and Sonny, for sharing your story. God bless you all and your family as well. Jordan says, you guys are truly re-inspiring me tonight. And wow, it means the world to hear you share. Love you. I really love that as well. And inspiring every moment, sending hearts and love from Teresa. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Jordan, oh, Sonny, wow. That's just so touching. I love that as well. More coming in here from everybody. This one probably tops it all. We love you, Jeff and Sonny from Mom Sweat. Mom's in the house. Welcome, Anna Jean. It's mom is in the house.
So just so you know, my mom has now had 3 boys in the hospital.
In the ICU.
I'm one of 8 kids, 7 boys, 2 of us have been in the ICU and 1 was in the hospital twice. So Mom, I'm sorry you had to go through this. This is,
a lot.
Something I would never want to have to go through with my kids. So
and here she is, and here she is still.
I mean, Dad too. I assume Dad's there as well, but Mom's the one who always signs everything. So.
She did the typing, right? Exactly. Let me have that keyboard. Exactly. Somebody that is here and just wanted to say that he totally enjoyed this conversation. Mr. George Burns is in the house. He's always here. He always makes his appearance.
Oh,
he's got his cigar, although that's not healthy for you, George, but you did live to 100, I guess. Good genes for you. Exactly. He pops in towards the latter part, and he just wanted to say you guys knocked it out of the park. He was very inspired by this story, and George sends you his love or his lovity. Can't go wrong. And he played God in the movie.
He did.
So you got God on your side, I guess, huh? Religious or otherwise, you got George and God.
Yeah, George. Exactly.
And Jean, Mom says, thanks, Jeff. Hard on mommy heart. Of course, absolutely. So beautiful to have you here too. The mom's love is amazing. Jane, who always watches, even though it's very late in Sweden, This
Oh,
has
wow.
been a heartbreaking, happy ending life story. Thank you so much, Jeff and Sunny, for sharing it with us tonight. Thanks, Jim, for having them on the show. My pleasure as well. One of our mutual friends and previous guests, Shayna, who was here, we had a wonderful conversation. She opened up about her life as well, sort of put us all together, right? She told you
Yeah.
about the show, told me about you guys, and we connected and created it all. And we thank her for doing that, because it takes a village, and everybody spreads the
Yeah.
word, and that's what it's all
Lisa.
about, right? And
Yeah,
she's
she's a
a
force of
beautiful
nature, as
soul.
you guys have seen.
Yes. So if she's watching now or in the archives, thank you, Shayna. You're a beautiful soul. Thank you both for being here and sharing your amazing story. Continued health. Bless you all, from Kathleen in New York City as well. And we thank everybody for all these beautiful comments. I hope the show met whatever expectations you had, guys, and that you enjoyed the time with me as much as I certainly have with the two of you.
Yeah, this
Absolutely.
is wonderful, and it's so great to meet all of you. Thanks for your kind words. It's truly touching.
Oh, the pleasure and honor is all ours, and continue to spread the word about the Jim Master Show Live. We would love that. It does take a village, and we'd really appreciate that. And continued good health, blessings, and joy in your lives. Let's definitely stay in touch, whether you're visiting here on the East Coast or I'm on a TV shoot or something on
Yeah,
the West Coast. We'll definitely connect and
yeah.
break some bread.
Yeah, and I was going to say, for anyone who wants to kind of keep tabs on this story, we are, as I said, working on memoir. We're currently in kind of final stages of a proposal that we're sending out.
And that's the website right there, right?
Oh yeah, jeffsweatbooks.com. So you can see kind of a little recap of it, get a sneak peek of it, and then I would say just sign up for the mailing list, and we'll keep you posted on as things move along. But it's, it could be a really good book, I think, honestly. It's we didn't get a chance to tell you half the stuff that happened.
Jordan and Terry both read, I think, most of the posts. I think that's why they're on.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Right now.
That's awesome. So do you have a target date, a hopeful date when you want it complete,
We're
or just
kind
rolling?
of pitching out in the next month or two. It's a slow process. I suspect you won't see it for a while, but honestly, if you signed up, we'll get you guys some early copies of it, because we need beta readers. So
I can't wait to read it myself. Yeah, it's we heard just a good deal of it, but part of the story tonight on the Jim Master Show Live. But there's so much more to it, folks. So let's definitely stay in touch, new friends, and really, really appreciate your being so authentic, so open, so honest, sprinkling in, which we love to do, a little levity, which lightens it up for everybody, and just allowing us to tell and share your story a little bit more with our international audience here. Really a blessing. And I really appreciate all the time you've given us. You and I, Jeff, when we were chatting prior, said, it'll probably be about an hour. We've done two hours.
Well, it took 2
but it
months to
doesn't
live this story. I guess 2
so
hours.
2 hours
okay.
is absolutely nothing. And it doesn't feel like it, right? You have I try to do this in a warm conversational way, the old school way that the talk shows used to be, with a modern twist and modern vibe. And it never feels like the length of time. It just, you just have a good chat. Please come back, Jeff and Sunny. Much love and hugs to you and your family from Terry Ann. Thank you, Terry Ann, as well. You guys be well. It really was an honor and a pleasure. And I really hope you enjoyed the time with us as much as we have with you. And again, continued love and blessings your way from me and from all of us here.
Of course.
Thank you. Stay safe, everyone.
Thanks, Jim. And thanks, everyone. We really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Our pleasure. You be well. You take care. And as I say to all the guests, now go stretch those legs. Get the circulation going. And we toast you. You be well. Take care again. Okay.
See you, everyone.
Bye-bye now. Jeff and Sunny Sweat here on the Jim Master Show Live, coming to us live from Los Angeles, California, with this amazing story. Again, you might have seen bits of it told on Inside Edition, of course, with Deborah Norville, that national television series. CBS News has covered it, many other news outlets. But it wasn't because it was on Inside Edition or any of the other television networks as to why we had Jeff and Sunny come on. Actually, our dear friend Shayna, who was a guest on our show, and she opened up about her life and her story and her survival as well. she put us together. And I think that's absolutely beautiful. And then, of course, I saw all of the coverage on Inside Edition and CBS and all the other locations, in our television industry, and beautifully done stories as well, really centering around how opera really helped Jeff get his voice back, but his voice, not just his vocal voice, but just as far as who he is as a person, that voice returned as well through all of this. And again, all of the whole family been very open and honest about everything, and they didn't sugarcoat it. They didn't say any of this was easy. They didn't say any of this was anything that anybody would want. However, having gone through it and coming out of it, there's a lot of scary things that happen in our lives. These are the breathing tests. We showed that earlier that happened post all of it to make sure the breathing's coming back. There's the ultimate situation there. And none of us know when, we'd end up in a situation like that, or any of our loved ones or friends. But look, with love and hope and little luck thrown in, and experts in their field sort of monitoring the situation, look what can happen as a result. Life can return, and you can learn from it as well. This is, I know it looks like the opening of a soap opera, doesn't it? I am Jim Masters. This is from COVID with Love. Actually, that's the name of the memoir that is in, I love the way this just comes over the screen there. It's the memoir that is being developed, and that's really, really cool and really, really special. And you saw some videos. If you missed any of this episode, be sure and check it out. It will move you greatly on many different levels that we can't even script. So we thank Jeff and we thank Sonny for joining us here. Maybe you saw this on Inside Edition or CBS News or other, entities, and now you wanted to know a little bit more about it. Well, you got a good piece of it here on our show, because we like to have deep conversations. I want to let you know, tomorrow we have a legend in the television, film, and theater business. Rob Dames is with us. He has produced, written, directed some of the most iconic television series: Full House, Give Me a Break, The Love Boat, Benson, Marblehead Manor, Me and the Boys, the Flintstones movie with Rosie O'Donnell, Casper, just to name a few. He's going to be with us live from Los Angeles. That is coming up tomorrow night, and we're looking forward to that, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. You know who's with us on Thursday? A music legend, the king of blue-eyed soul, Felix Cavaliere. He's going to be with us. He was in the Rascals. Of course, the Rascals, Groove In, and all those great songs. Music legend. He's going to be with us. This developed really quickly. This Thursday night, he's going to be with us live for some great music as he celebrates a 50-plus year career. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Grammy Hall of Fame, the Songwriters Hall of Fame, Lyricists Hall of Fame, you name it, he's in it. And we're going to celebrate him on the Jim Masters Show live this Thursday. Kathleen says, an amazing, inspiring couple. Great show. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Kathleen in New York City and the Big Apple, joining us here and being inspired. I know you would be inspired, Kathleen. And please come back. Yes, Terry Ann already wants them back. And Mona says, thanks, Jim, for tonight. Very touching story. Hope you all and the lovelies have a great night. Good night, hugs, and love to all. That's right. For the folks that are watching live, we'll be back tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, live with our special guest. Those of you who are not watching this live, you're watching it in the archives, just stay right here. Another episode. There's over 600 episodes plus that we have done of this series and counting. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel you're watching. The show is the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show Series. The channel where we house it all, sort of like our TV channel, is YouTube, Jim Masters TV. And don't forget to give this episode a nice thumbs up like. There's a little thumbs up icon there you see underneath the episode. Give it a like and leave a comment for us. If this inspired you, moved you, or you just enjoyed this episode or any of our episodes, do that. That really does help our series greatly. as we continue to blossom and continue to grow. So we thank you for your time, everybody. This is your host, Jim Masters. Thank you for this time. Till next time. Thanks for all the great comments. We'll look for those comments coming later in comment sections on our YouTube channel underneath the episodes. And again, hopefully you were inspired by this episode in some small or large way. We like to do that as much as we like to have fun and a lot of entertainment here on our show. We like to do things that inspire. It's all about the levity, right? The levity that we talk about so much here on the Jim Masters Show live. Christine Clifton in North Carolina says, Jim, thanks for this inspiring show with Jeff and Sonny. Such a touching and amazing story. Jeff is blessed to have had so much love and support during his illness. The power of love and music. Lovely, Jeff. Yes. Jeff and Sonny both having been surrounded by lots of love and attention, which is what helps people get through crazy stuff in life, and music, of course, the power of music too. Thank you, Kathleen in New York City, right back at you. All right, gang, as you know, we don't say goodbye on our show. We just say, see you later, slancha, cheers, avida zain, shalom, sayonara. Don't forget to spread the word about our series. Help us grow. Jim Masters TV is the channel on YouTube. And as we always say, don't forget to smile. Don't forget to share the levity. Find your Zen place. Jen in Pennsylvania and Jeff in California, they love the mountains. Yours truly, of course, loves diving into that ocean. And of course, my career in television, radio, stage, and film over the years also is a very Zen place for me. So find your Zen, master your happiness, and share it with the world, because the world could use it. All right, we're going to sign off. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for being with us. We love you all. Be good to one another. Take care of one another. And thanks for watching this episode of the Jim Masters Show live. Take care, be well, and cheers.